Hello, it's Widowmaker here again, and this is another video on the Lord of the Rings, the adventure card game. In this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about Looming Threat and stalling. So now, a bit of context. Looming Threat hasn't always been a thing. Probably, 3 months into early access, the devs realized that the optimal way from a, score point of view to play this game was to camp out in the first location. So what you would do is you would spend all your time in that first location, building up your board presence, getting attachments on your allies, get attachments on your heroes, getting really strong allies in play, and just positioning yourself while Sauron, he's sitting there throwing some stuff down, and you would, clear the hazards, you would kill the bad guys, and then eventually you would travel to the subsequent locations, but you were so powerful that it really didn't matter. So it kind of took away from the immersion, took away from the storyline and the progression. So what they did was they introduced this thing called Looming Threat, which is a special sort of hazard that you can't clear. It's introduced in the tutorial. If you haven't done that yet, I would strongly recommend you go back and do that because it does explain what it is. But basically what it means is if you have a chance to travel and you choose to end the phase instead, it puts it onto the board. And what it does is it penalizes you in threat in subsequent rounds, right? So normally what would happen is at the end of every round, your threat would go up by 1. If you have Looming Threat in play, so if you had the opportunity to travel and you didn't, at the end of the subsequent round, your threat would go up by an additional 1. If you then chose to not travel again, your threat would go up by another 2 at the end of the round in addition to your 1. So you don't want to be leaving Looming Threat on the board for very long. So I want to demonstrate something here. I want to demonstrate playing around Looming Threat and playing around stalling and how that can be used to your advantage. So I've got a board set up here. This is from Ettercap. So you see this is in the first location, right? And if you have a look at the objective, now you should always be familiar with this. What this is this tells you when the travel trigger will occur. So I either have to defeat every enemy or I have to defeat Glint of Steel. Now I'm obviously in a position here where I could clear this last hatchling spider. Sauron's passed. He's got no resources left, so he's already passed this round. And this is an example where I could do that. I could crash into there with him, and then I would get the travel trigger. And then if I took it, that would be fine, I suppose. But it's not an optimal play, and I'll show you why. There are 2 things that I'm going to take into consideration where I'm deciding whether or not I'm going to hang around or not. Firstly, there's a fate event over here, which is a location-specific event that will give me Lembas. It doesn't say that, but that's what it will give me. So there's a location-specific fate event there. And if I don't use that while I'm at this location, I won't get a chance to do it again. So see how it's got a different graphic around it? So that shows it as a location-specific one. Similarly, if I have a look over here, there's a threat event that summons a Brood Elder. And a Brood Elder is a really nasty spider, like a 3/6 that heals all the spiders or something crazy like that. I don't want to have to deal with that on a new board, right? So at the end of this round, on my threat's 34, at 35 threat, it will spawn. I want it to spawn on this location. I don't want it to spawn on the next one because the next one is going to have a whole bunch of new stuff for me to deal with. So I don't want to travel this round. And this is fine, right? Because even though this little hatchling spider is here, I don't have to worry about it because I can kill him first. That being said, I'm probably going to kill him now because what's going to happen is I'll just go through and play this, right? So what I'll do is I'll kick up Arwen there, and I'll let's say I'll pick up Gloin, right? Because I want to take Gloin, and then what I'll do is I'll actually kill off that spider because I'll show you Looming Threat, right? I'll take the threat hit, so I'll do it that way instead. So I'll kill him off. So that triggers the opportunity for me to travel, right? So it says, hey, travel now to avoid Looming Threat. So I have a travel button here. I might just thread up there, fade up there, I should say. But I'm going to end turn, and the reason is that I don't want that spider to spawn. So I'll take this Looming Threat hit, end of the turn, and then what we have here is that will trigger. So here we go. So this is, it's locked. It means I can't interact with it. If I don't travel, it's going to penalize me further. So that's not so great. So have a look at that. He's a really nasty spider. So, but he doesn't have pursuit, so that's great. So what I'm going to do, because I'm a bit of a cheese, I'll just go, nah, you can't do anything this round. Okay, that's fine, so I don't have to worry about him really. So I might take this opportunity. I'll put Sting on Aragorn. Yeah, that's fine. I'll just guard up with Gloin. So like I said, I want to grab my pack, because if I don't, I'm going to lose him. And then I'll just fade up, right? So I'm going to travel at the end of this round. I'm going to have a bunch of extra fate for the next location, and my threat is going to go up by 2. So my threat's going to go up from 35 to 37 because I've got Looming Threat in play, and that's fine. And so yeah, there you go. So I've just kind of stalled for a turn, pulled out that fate event, and yeah, like you might go, oh well, you just took an extra bit of threat, and I did. But keeping in mind, I can use Gandalf to dodge that. So I can use Gandalf to bring my threat down by 3, to avoid things like this one, the Unbearable Gloom, and that one there's not so bad. But yeah, so there you go, guys. Like that's I guess the key thing to take away from this is when you're in a location, always be mindful of what your objective is. Work like this one again is another one that you can stall on really easily because you have to clear these objectives. So that one's okay. These ones again are okay that you can kind of just hang around and do it in your own timing. If you're playing Spirit, it's even more so because you've got threat reduction. You should always keep an eye on these location-specific fate events. Like in this case, both of those are really quite handy. You should try and get a hold of those if you can. And similarly, try and travel with some fate in the meter so that you can use these straight away. Some of these are really quite handy, like things like exhausting spiders. You want to make sure you have that fate ready to go, because when there's 2 really big spiders there, you want to be able to exhaust them. And similarly, keep an eye on your fate. Obviously, keep an eye on your threat events for the same reason, right? You want to be able to try and avoid triggering them and at poor moments. So if like I would have had to deal with that extra spider, that 3/6 guy that I left behind on that previous location, if I hadn't kind of triggered him out. And I could have quite easily done that without bringing Looming Threat onto the board as well. I just kind of wanted to show you, how that worked and how that interacted with my threat meter. If I'd stayed another turn, it actually would have triggered. It would have triggered Unbearable Gloom, which is terrible. You want to avoid that. So there you go, guys. I hope that's been useful to you. If you have any questions, chuck them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye.